That one egg was 40 eggs?
That's a big fucking pile of garbage.
I'm the farting demon in this relationship.
I'd be an awesome rich person.
You're both just an embarrassment.
God, I'm awesome.
We're talking Tom Hanks and his vehicle.
Yeah, I had my finger in my mouth waiting for you to finish.
You gotta get 4 balls or something.
Dick piercing?
No, you know damn well fucking that demon is still sexy.
How could that be close and not be
Yeah,
right?
I'll just kill some random dude.
If you want cheese, you get a milk.
You're waiting for me.
No, I can hang on it. It sucked. Boners.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Plotty Time. I'm here, Poppascotch, with Chump Slap.
That's me.
And today, oh boy, do we have a treat for you guys.
Yeah, you guys are going to love it.
Today, we're going to be watching the film eXistenZ. Well, we already watched it. We're going to be talking about it. We're not going to be watching anything. It's an audio
We should
medium.
do a watch along one of these days, but
We really should. We got to figure that out. But for now, we just watched this movie separately, and we came to the table ready to talk about it. And I know before we landed on what we were going to talk about, my first thought was, oh man, what video game movies haven't we talked about?
right?
And then you mentioned this, and my first thought was, this isn't a video. And I was like, wait, it is about
it's
gaming.
a video game.
It's not like a video game property that got made into a movie. It's a different way of looking at it.
Right.
Now, do you remember how or when you found this movie? Do you have any backstory to yours introduction to it?
Well, you know me. I just look for weird ass shit.
That's true.
And I remember just like seeing this, watching the trailer and being like, what the fuck is this?
So when you go through Prime or whatever, you see something, and you're like, I'll trailer it. Maybe I'll like it.
Yeah. Well, you got to see how the quality of the filming is and the acting and shit. So
You can tell immediately when it's like somebody at home with a phone or a DV camera that
Yeah.
somehow got their sneaky project onto Amazon. You can tell.
exactly.
The second you see the trailer, you're like, nope.
And that's like the movie could sound really cool and have a cool picture or whatever, but once you see that trailer and you're like, no, this is fucking high school film shit.
Yeah, this is definitely not paid, trained actors. This is,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm making a movie, which one of my friends are, and no disrespect.
No,
but-
good for you for the hustle, but
Yeah, absolutely. But you know,
you ain't getting me again.
yeah, that's the thing. I didn't know how to say it politely, but that's exactly what it is. Like, I'm not falling for this again. I've been burned so many times.
So many times, dude.
Where you watch the trailer and you're like, okay, there's some interesting ideas there. Maybe it's good, and it's awful.
Yeah, and I've seen this. I saw this before I even knew who the fuck Cronenberg was.
I remember in college, I took a film class because I went to film school, which really didn't really use
paid
it.
out.
I mean, I always tell people, and I do believe, I went to college, I took the film studies courses, program, whatever, and college taught me how to learn.
Yeah.
Like, really learn something and think about things and come up with solutions. And that was not an education I got in high school. So it certainly helped me in my life.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I don't know. It was fun.
But you could
whatever.
have had a better.
I suppose I could have
major.
gotten to where I am faster had I majored in something a little bit more aligned with it. But hey, you know, you live and learn.
Yeah, you do what you do and fucking you try.
But the point I was getting at, I had a class called Craven and Cronenberg, and it was just watching Wes Craven and David Cronenberg movies and talking about the
Get
subtext.
the fuck out. That sounds like an amazing class.
It was an amazing, but I remember not liking the professor. Couldn't tell you what their name was. Right now.
That's a bummer. How do you ruin that class?
Exactly. And I remember too watching a documentary. I forget the name of it. Maybe I'll look it up if I remember, but it was about horror films. It was probably from like 04, 05. And then that professor showed up in it as one of the talking heads. And I was like, oh shit.
Nice.
All right. And this was one of the movies, because that was, I'm not going to date myself, but it was probably in like 2003 when I was in that class.
Yeah, this isn't, 99 this came out?
Yes. It came out April 23rd, 1999. And it had a rough time at the box office.
Yeah, it sure did.
It was that week, the week it came out, the week of April 23rd. It was number 14 at the box office. Now, only on 256 theaters.
Okay.
Number 1 that week was The Matrix, which I think had been out for like a couple weeks at this point.
Oh, wow. It had a lot to... Well, this is kind of similar. Like, I don't know.
I think that's part of it, right? Like, in a way, it's weird future tech like The Matrix is.
Right.
Obviously,
right.
The Matrix is much more big budget, much more glitzy, much more pretty. But this was exploring some weird fucking concepts that no one... I don't think... Like, I think if this had come out when VR was a thing, it would have hit a lot harder.
Right. This is like before that was even a possibility.
Yeah, before anyone was even thinking about strapping a headset to your face.
Yeah, this is like PlayStation 1 or almost 2.
But it was directed by David Cronenberg. And I want to talk a little bit about David Cronenberg's films, just real quick, just going through them, because I fucking love David Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Love his stuff.
Society is fucking amazing.
Huge fan. Wait, did he do Society?
Wasn't that him?
No, he did Scanners.
Shut up. Who the fuck did Society?
I don't know.
All right. Well, now I just feel like an asshole.
That's okay. Society's a great movie. But David Cronenberg, he's been around a long time. Is he still? Shit, I probably should have looked it up before I started recording. Yeah, I was gonna say, is he still with us? I think he is.
I think so. I know his daughter makes movies.
Daughter and son, they both do.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
He was in a project. Oh no, he's still doing stuff. He plays Kovich on Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Well, man, if only scientists were here, you know.
I know,
but
right?
He's not. Just me and Chump Slap this week. He was born in 1943 and he's still here. Good for him. That's got to be up there. I'm not going to do math. 81? Yeah, 81. Anyway, so he has been making movies since the 70s. He did a lot of like shorts and straight to TV stuff. He's a very prolific Canadian filmmaker, and he always wanted his stuff to feel Canadian, which I thought was odd because this didn't feel very Canadian.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see how this feels Canadian.
And well, eventually, as we go through his movies, I think he got a little bit further away from that. But in the beginning, in 1975, he did a movie called Shivers, which was fucking awesome. Have you seen that one, Chump Slap? I'm not gonna do this for every one of his movies, but Shivers is.
Shivers. It sounds fucking familiar.
It's the one where they're in like this huge apartment building, and like a alien slug thing gets out and starts taking people over and making them sex crazy.
No, I have not.
Check it out, dude. Okay. Check out Shivers. He also got a lot of attention for the next 4 films he did.
Yeah.
Rabid he did in 1977, which was a horror film. The Brood in 1979. He did Scanners in 81, which is iconic for that fucking head explosion scene.
Yeah, true that.
Just still holds up. I admit, like, I think that still holds up, and the story of how they got that shot is the most insane shit I ever heard in my life. They made like... Obviously, it's not a real person's head exploding, but they made a wax figure that looked identical to the guy, and they got the explosion by putting a loaded shotgun up to the back of his head of this wax figure and pulling the trigger, and all the gas is released and blew it up. I was like, that is ridiculous. Movie making was different in the 80s. And then 1983, Videodrome, another classic.
Yeah.
And then that's when he got the attention of Hollywood, and he did The Dead Zone in 1983. With Christopher Walken, the Stephen King adaptation.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, I've seen that.
And then The Fly in 1986.
Well,
was
yeah,
really
that's when.
Huge one. And then he went on to do, he started getting more into, I guess, like art films. He did Dead Ringers in 1988.
Oh, right.
Have you seen that? Are you the only other person I know that's seen that besides me?
I've seen it with the...
I thought you talked about it on this at some point.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. I definitely watched it while we were recording these podcast, so we probably talked about it.
I remember you mentioning it and me being excited, and scientists is like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, that's that reaction right there. What are you talking about? I get that every time I bring up Dead Ringers, which is often.
Yeah, it's a fucking good movie. Very weird.
Everything he's done is good. Naked Lunch he did in 91, which is another great movie that's really, really fucking weird.
Yeah, there's that Simpsons thing where they're walking out with Naked Lunch, and like that title doesn't make sense.
Oh, that's the famous, the Nelson thing where he's like, I can think of at least 2 things wrong with that title. Yeah. He also did, in 1993, did a movie called M. Butterfly, which I didn't really love that much. I don't even remember what it's about, but I have seen it.
The Madam Butterfly?
Just M. Butterfly.
Oh, no.
And then he did Crash in 1996, which is... It's not the Sandra Bullock one. It's not that one. It's not the racist one. The one that won all the Oscars. It's not that one.
Is that one where there's like weird sexual shit with car crashes?
Yes. With Spader. Your boy Spader's in it.
Right.
Of course you've seen it. Yeah, there's no movie like that. There's no other movie that has ever came out that is like that.
No, it's definitely unique. It's fucking weird.
It reminds me a lot of a David Lynch movie, but it makes more sense.
Yes.
Every time I watch a David Lynch movie, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Crash is... Check that one out.
Yeah.
Thank me later. And then this was his next movie, eXistenZ, in 1999. He would go on to make more movies, obviously, and some of which very much critical acclaim, like A History of Violence in 2005.
Really?
was nominated for an Oscar. I believe it was either Vigo or William Hurt, one of those two.
Yeah, that's based on the graphic novel.
Yeah, and he also did Eastern Promises, which I think was a Vigo nominee
Yeah, I
in
never.
'07. That was fucking nuts. There's a naked bathhouse fight.
Well, you sold me.
But it's like they're doing it, man, on like tile.
Yeah.
Like it looks brutal, but it's awesome. It's a great movie. He continues to make movies till now, but I haven't seen anything recent of his,
Right.
which I should probably check out. But that's Cronenberg, great director. Kind of, I don't want to say he totally pivoted to acting, but you could tell at some point he's like, man, directing's a lot of work. I'd rather just kind of show up for a couple days and
Yeah, not have to deal with it over and over again.
And I mean, if you're financially secure, like, why not, right? He has 48 directing credits and 41 acting credits. So, you know.
Oh, shit. Split the diff, yeah.
Right there. He did direct Cosmopolis in 2012, the one with, what's that kid's name? The Twilight kid. Robert Pattinson. He's not a kid anymore. He's like 40.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson's in that one. And it's the one where he's in like a limo the entire time.
Nah, I've never seen that.
It was pretty good.
All right.
Anyway, so we can get into the movie, eXistenZ. I believe we recently did reference this in an episode because we talked about the fucking weird-ass bio console.
Yeah, yeah. That's why it came to my mind, and we're like, all right, let's fucking do an episode about it. Let's do something about this weird-ass genetic bio bullshit.
It's awesome. I love everything about this movie. We start out in some kind of like church rec hall, I guess. You
Feels
know what
like
I mean?
an
Like,
AA meeting, dude.
it feels like an AA meeting, which are very often in religious spaces. So
Yeah.
it feels like like an all-purpose hall. Like it has a stage, I think. Anyway, there's this group of people that are there to play test a new video game from the rock star video game designer Allegra Geller.
Oh, man. No way.
And it's Jennifer Jason Leigh plays Allegra Geller. She's amazing in everything she does, including this. And I also read a piece of trivia where she was filming scenes for a role in Eyes Wide Shut, the Kubrick film, the last one he did. And she went to do this movie. Like, you know, one right after the other. She flew up to Canada to do this. And then they're like, hey, you need to come back for reshoots. And she couldn't do it because she picked this. She picked starring in eXistenZ rather than going back and doing reshoots for Eyes Wide Shut. So they recast her and reshot the scenes she had
Get the
originally
fuck
done
out.
and kind of edited her out of the movie or replaced her, I guess.
Good for her, though.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Like, oh, I could have been in a Kubrick film, but
I mean, Eyes Wide Shut's still a good movie, but
I love it.
I
But
don't think it's as good as this one.
I think I'm in the minority with people who love it.
I like it.
I mean, it's still Kubrick.
Yeah, it's Kubrick. What are you going to do?
But so this new game that she's coming out with is called eXistenZ, which it's the name of the movie.
Capital X, capital Z.
And this is some kind of, I mean, I think it's funny because the movie takes place in 2030,
Yeah.
which is 6 years from right now. Guys, you got to remember this came out in 1999. Okay. So
This was before fucking cell phones were huge.
yeah, this was before texting, wasn't
Yep.
it?
Yeah.
I mean, you could still text in 99, but like you'd be the one guy that had a phone that could text. Like no one else had a phone.
Yeah. More people had fucking a pager. Maybe I just knew more drug dealers. I don't know.
No, there were a lot of pagers still floating around the mid to late 90s.
Right?
And so video gaming's different in this world. You have this controller that I don't even know what words to use to explain it, but apparently in this world, this universe in 2030, they wanted to make things or had to make things more sustainable. So instead of being a big clunky piece of plastic, the controller is like a living, breathing bioorganism.
Yeah. Which, okay.
It's fucking gnarly. Everything about it makes me uncomfortable.
It's not, yes.
Like,
It's not like a real living thing. It's pieced together in a factory, but it's still alive.
yeah. And I know that sounds crazy, but that is the best way we can explain what this thing is. Like, and the sounds it may, oh God, it's so unsettling. But basically, okay, so you take this weird bio thing and it has a cord coming out of it, which is called an umbilicord,
Umbilicord.
umbilicord. And that goes into your bioport, which is a literal port, which is installed, I guess, in your spine.
I assume it's right after the tailbone, like where the tailbone begins, as to have the least effect or the least.
It's tramp stamp territory.
Yeah.
That's where where. Oh my God, new tramp stamp idea.
Oh, dude.
That would, like, 3 people in the world would get it.
I would love to get that tattoo. I don't have a single tattoo, but that might be my first.
I'll tell you what, after our first live show we sell out for the podcast, we'll go right to the tattoo parlor and we'll get matching
Fucking
Umbicord tattoos. So make it happen, guys. Tell all your friends. Get us some downloads because holy shit.
Let's get a live show.
So this Umbicord plugs into your bioport. Oh God, it's so unsettling. There's like a white ball on the controller that you like
flick like a
you
nipple.
flick. Like I don't know what other word to use. I have weird ass click controller. That's what I put in my notes. And you like flick it, it goes and then turns. It is so weird. It is so unsettling.
And just
This
shivers.
is the first 5 minutes of the movie, which is fantastic. So it puts you into the game, and it's like you're living, breathing in the moment. It's
alternate reality.
It's alternate reality. It's on par with like going to a different dimension almost.
Yeah.
But it's, you're living, you're breathing, you're in it. So they're in this game, this playtest group with Jennifer Jason Leigh. There's like 8 of them. They kind of just look like they're all asleep. And
yeah, but she has her eyes open. That bothered me.
did she?
Yeah, in this first scene where she's uploading her game to everybody else's slave port, as she calls it, her eyes are open. And I'm like, that's weird.
Weird. But some guy comes into the thing late. He pulls a gun on her, which looks like looks like another thing that was a bioorganism made of bones.
It was a undetectable, what does he call it? I don't know. He says it's undetectable bio whatever that shoots fucking teeth.
Yeah, it's like an organic pistol, and the clip, the magazine looks like a bridge for like your mouth with teeth on it, and it fires the teeth out. It is, again, gnarly.
I'd love to see if anyone has a 3D printable version of that.
It's on the poster, guys, so if you want to see what it looks like, it's right there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'd love to have a 3D printed one.
So this guy shoots him. Security blows this guy away. It hits Allegra Geller in the arm, and they also kill a guy. Like, I forgot to even mention he was in this scene, but Christopher, I don't know how to say his name. He's one of the doctors.
The
Christopher
guy who's like running
Eccleston?
the whole thing.
Yeah, the guy who's like the intro, like the Steve Jobs version. They call him. He's credited as the seminar leader.
Yeah,
Christopher Eccleston, who was, I don't know, one of the doctors. Again, scientists really blew it not showing up for this.
yeah, for real.
But security kills this guy, the shooter, real good. And the marketing intern, this guy who was just checking people at the door, I guess doing a bad job looking for weapons while we're at it.
Well, no, that's the beauty of the biological gun. It bypasses the thing, security check.
So now Jude Law grabs Allegra Geller. They jump in a Jeep and they fuck off. And they get to this seedy motel to kind of lay low. And another like fun piece of trivia here. I don't know, Chump Slap, if you've seen Schitt's Creek, the show.
No.
So it's pretty funny. I really love it. It takes place in the fictional town of Schitt's Creek.
Right.
Where this rich family who basically
Is that
lost
the mom
everything.
From Beetlejuice in there?
Yes.
Okay.
But the story of the whole thing is that they move to this town and have to stay in a hotel, and it's this hotel. It's the same one.
That's
like
wild.
they shot them both at the same place, which I thought was amazing. Because I saw it in this film, like the establishing shot of the outside. I'm like, that looks like no, it's not.
Right.
And then I saw a trivia.
Nice.
So they go to the seedy hotel, and Allegra Geller really is, she's thrilled she's still alive. She took a round in the arm. She seems almost completely fine.
Well, they pop it out. Yeah.
They pop it out, but still, that's a hole in her arm.
Yeah. It's not bleeding either.
Yeah. And the first thing she can think of is, I need to test my game. Like
Yeah, she's
something
"Is my
might have
pod
happened.
okay?"
Yeah, I got to make sure my pod's okay. This is the only copy of the game, and I can't play it alone. You got to play with me. And Jude Law is like, I'm an intern, and I don't even have a bioport. Like, I don't even have one installed. And she's like, you're trying to get in this industry, and you don't even have a fucking bioport, you fucking noob. I'm paraphrasing those lines.
But no, that's what she says. Yeah.
That's pretty much how she feels. And
She's like, you've never played my games? You never played a game?
And then she's like, well, let's go get a bioport. And he's like, how are we going to do that? We just going to go to some local country gas station?
I love that that's the name of the gas station.
They immediately cut to country gas station exterior. And the guy who is working at the gas station, Willem Dafoe.
Amazing.
Just credit the cast in this movie is fucking nuts.
It really is.
We'll get to more famous people. So far, you got Jude Law, Jennifer Jason Leigh as basically the co-stars. That we follow them the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
You had Christopher Eccleston, and now you're getting Willem Dafoe. It's gonna get bigger. But he's working this gas station, and they're like, "Hey, hook us up with a bioport." And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not doing that." And she's like, "Come on, I'm Allegra Geller. Hook me up with a bioport."
And then he's like, she doesn't say that, but he pulls out like a clipping from a magazine that has a picture of Allegra Geller on it, and he's like, "Oh my god, he has this in his wallet."
Yeah, that part is extremely weird. But you know, it makes sense. He's a big fan. He plays these games. He meets her. He's like, "Holy shit, this is you." It's a little weird that he's such a big fan. He has her picture in his wallet, but
and that she knows about him.
Yeah, like how? What did she see something there that's like, oh, I can tell they have bioports here. Anyway.
Yeah.
She wants to play this shit like now. So Jude Law and Willem Dafoe have a great scene of him getting his bioport installed.
Yeah, and
it's like you think that it'd be this super clean surgical type procedure in a nice room. He's on like a barber chair.
Yeah, it's like something that would happen in a fucking like a mechanic shop.
The tool he uses looks like something that was fashioned out of like a car axle.
Yeah.
Like it looks very industrial. And Jude Law's like, I don't know if I want to do it. I can't do it. And they're like, just do it. So he gets it jacked into his spine.
He's like, I haven't paralyzed anyone yet. And he's like, how many have you done? Well, you'll be my third.
I was like, 3? It's like, you've only done this 3 times? Well, you'll be my third.
Yeah. And there's a cool scene here where Geller's like walking around and like just feeling the outside of the gas station, like the textures and shit. Like she's enjoying how detailed the game is, and you can see it here.
And, you know, before we get too far into this, obviously there are spoilers. So,
yeah.
If you want to keep the reveal, this is a good time to pause because we're going to really ruin this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fun journey to go through. So I suggest if you're going to watch it, now would be the time to stop listening to us and go watch it and then come back.
Yeah, I might have just ruined it for you. But, yeah.
Maybe download it a couple more times. I feel like though, if we're doing a Plotty Time Watches episode by now, people know what we're getting into.
Yeah,
but maybe this is our first episode. I don't know. But it'd be a wild first episode to start with.
For real.
She's like, all right, this is great. Let's play. And he's like, I just got this fucking put in. I can't walk because he said it like paralyzes you from the waist down. That's part of like the numbing procedure to install it.
Yeah, because he does the fucking whole shot and he's like, oh my God, I can't walk. He's like, no, there's an epidural in the
epidural
thing.
That was the word I was looking for. Yeah, when you get an epidural, like it's localized anesthesia and you can't walk. Your legs don't work until the epidural wears off. This one lasted, I don't know, 10 minutes and he was able to walk, but we'll get past that. So she plugs the fucking umbilical cord into his thing. She fires up her pod and it like fries out.
It's like, oh my God, you fucked up. You neural surged.
Like you neural surge. He's like, I'm just sitting here. I didn't do anything. Like, it's like, no, you broke it. Like, I don't know. How did I break it? Like, I've never played a game. I don't know what I'm doing here.
She doesn't fucking warn him or anything. She's like, oh, well, it's in there now. We're just going to fucking plug in.
It's like, you're playing now, fucking plug. Like that's,
yeah.
And he's like, he's like, whatever you said happened. I didn't feel anything. I don't know what you're talking about. So then we find out Willem Dafoe's standing there with a shotgun. He's the one that sabotaged the bioport.
Dude, she says here, she's like, this game cost $38 million to develop. And I was like, oh my God, if they knew how much games cost now.
I know, right? That's probably, David Cronenberg, I believe, wrote this. I'm pretty sure he did. Yes, he wrote and directed this. I bet at that point in time, that number was so insanely high.
Yeah, it was 99. What's that, like a $2 million game? Like Tony Hawk or something?
I wonder what the budget would have been. That would be like Metal Gear Solid, right? Like around, and that was 98.
Yeah, but there you go. Yeah. When this was being filmed, would have been 98. It came out in 99. So
I'm trying to see. They spent, I'm looking and trying to find like an answer. This is all just Reddit threads. But apparently they spent something like $8 million on marketing for Metal Gear Solid. But I don't know. Let's say 10, whatever. That's what it costs.
Yeah, but that's marketing. She's like, this cost $38 million to develop.
Aren't they saying, I don't know if this is true, but like Grand Theft Auto 6 is like in the hundreds of millions by now.
Yeah. Well, Grand Theft Auto 5 made hundreds of millions of dollars.
Okay, so GTA 5 so remember GTA 5, this is 2013. So that cost 260 to 300 million to make.
200. Yeah, that was 14 years after.
No, 17 years after.
Yeah.
17 years since this game. So they should have probably guessed $1 billion. They probably should have went with a B.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that would have sounded too obscene.
I know, that would have been ridiculous.
Wow.
Which is fucking
That's crazy that they tried to go absurd with it and it barely hit the mark.
not even close. Not
even.
like 38 million's an indie game these days.
Yeah. Oh, they made fucking Binding of Isaac. Okay.
So I also think it's crazy that people, I guess, in this world, something that I didn't exactly get on many of my playthroughs, I had to read about it afterwards, but there's two really big game companies, Antenna Research and Cortical Systematics.
Right.
And they're basically in competition with each other.
Yeah, it's like Xbox and PlayStation, kind of.
Which makes sense.
But they're trying to like undermine each other in this world.
Yeah, in this world, she, I believe, works for Antenna.
Yeah,
or this is an Antenna game.
And then all these people they're chasing a fucking $5 million bounty on her head right now.
Yeah, which I thought was another interesting piece of trivia because this portion of it, the idea here came from when David Cronenberg heard about the fatwa on Salman Rushdie after he wrote the Devil Something or Other, that book.
Yeah.
And he was fascinated by the idea that some guy with a book can just have millions of people out there trying to kill him.
Yeah. Well, that is fascinating.
It's wild. But so anyway, Willem Dafoe sabotaged the port. He said that people are paying $5 million for Allegra Geller's body, no questions asked.
Yeah.
And then Jude Law, last second, shot him in the goddamn neck with the bioport gun from across the road.
Dude, that was fucking wild. I love the shots of people getting shot in the face in this fucking movie.
Yeah, David Cronenberg, his big thing is body horror, just really gross.
Right. That's why I thought
stuff.
Society was by him. It makes sense in my head, but yeah.
In another universe, he did do that. Like, he turned down that movie to do something.
Right.
For sure. I guarantee he was on the short list for who do we want to get to direct this? Like, the dude that did The Fly, obviously.
Yeah.
So then after they get out of here, Jude Law wants to go get help. He wants to go to the cops. Like, we just killed this fucking guy. We got to call somebody. And she's like, no, we got to save the game. Let's just leave. So
yeah,
they just
she's
left.
like, no, fix the port. We just got to fix the pod. That's it.
Yeah. Fixing the pod's way more important. So they go to a guy named Kiri, who is played by Ian Holm.
The doctor from Alien.
Yeah, another famous actor. Wasn't he in The Lord of the Rings? He was one of those.
Yeah, but I remember him.
Yeah, he was Bilbo.
Aliens.
Alien. He was the
synthetic.
The synthetic in the first one.
Yeah, okay.
Tried to jam that magazine down Sigourney Weaver's throat. How dare he?
Well, he came back in fucking Romulus, too.
Oh, did he?
You didn't see Romulus?
No, I didn't see it yet.
Oh, shit. Spoiler.
How dare you? Well, I mean,
I'm sorry.
I mean, he's a synthetic. Like, he's a robot. There were 1 billion of them made.
It's between Alien and Aliens, so.
Man, God, I gotta watch that movie. Okay, so Ian Holm, they get to his house, and there's a scene where, like, apparently he's a guy that makes or repairs these things.
He fixes bioports too.
Yeah, he's got a lot of hands in the gaming community, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess that's what we're calling it.
A lot of irons in that fire.
And there's this dissection scene where they're taking the pod apart and working on it, and it is fucking gnarly. This is super gnarly.
Yeah. He's like, it's like you're doing surgery on someone's pet dog.
It is, guys, it's awesome. Go check out this movie. And they also replaced Ted's shitty bioport. They put a good one in there. And now's the time. Now they sit together and they actually play the game eXistenZ. And we get to see what that's like and what that actually means. Because we haven't seen any gameplay yet. We don't know what's going on.
I love how she says here, like, you have to play the game to know why you play the game.
Yeah, there are so many vague things. So many like philosophical just nonsense that is supposed to be super deep that you just won't understand until you play the game. So I thought the transition was amazing. Like, because they're in this farmhouse, apartment, whatever, and they hook up Jude Law. They turn it on by rubbing the vagina thing. I don't know what it is. You'll see. It'll make sense when you see it. And he looks up to like the rafters and he sees a guy starting to walk down the circular steps.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck?
He's like, what the fuck? And then the camera comes down and it's the like it's the apartment, but there's like a cash register, there's part of a video store, and then the camera turns around to look at them, and they're both in the video store, or this store, I should say. It's not a video store.
Yeah.
Some kind of store.
It's like a Best Buy for just this video game.
Yeah. And they meet a guy by the name of Darcy Nader. And he's like, we got this whole new system. This is like the tutorial. This is Jude Law's never played a game. Allegra Geller's kind of helping him through it and how to play it. But they find this new system, which looks, I don't even know how to explain what this thing looks like. It's smaller than like a dollar bill. It's like a mouse size.
The bioport thing?
Yeah, and you like basically take this thing, which looks like silly putty-ish. And you just jam it in the bioport, it gets sucked in.
It's fucking wild.
I'm realizing now I sound fucking crazy.
No, yeah, but the scene is even crazier than you're making it out to be.
But like, I'm just trying to think of somebody who's never seen this movie who's listening to this episode is like, what the fuck? And yeah, we're just as shocked. We saw it happen. So the whole fucking pod thing disappears into his back, and we're just duplicating here like what happened in the last layer of the game, because they go into this storage closet, they get all over each other. We cut away quietly to the next scene, and then all of a sudden it's like a cut in a movie, but Jude Law like lived it.
Yeah. He's just like appears in like this fucking weird, like a trout farm.
Yeah, well, I called it the fish farm, the trout farm. They're like ripping apart. It's gnarly. Again, it's gnarly. And a coworker's like, hey, for lunch, you want to go check out that Chinese restaurant in the woods? And he's like, fucking.
First off, there's a fucking Chinese restaurant in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, I just assumed when I first saw it, I'd forgotten about this part. And when I watched it recently, I was like, oh, yeah, some Chinese restaurant, whatever. But no, they walk out of the building, turn to the right. There's a bunch of trees and just this huge building that says Chinese restaurant on it.
And everyone's just funneling in there.
And everyone, yeah, it's like everyone from the place is just funneling in. And the coworker was also like, just make sure you ask for the special and you don't take no for an answer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then he had learned in the previous layer of the game that when you talk to some people, there are keywords or phrases or ways to speak to them where it's kind of like an NPC. Like they'll just stand there and kind of look off, and then you say something to them and you address them directly, and then it like kicks in the rest of the story. So
that part is weird.
It's very weird. It's very unsettling to see it. And to see them in a conversation with this man, but yet talking to one another at like knowing they're in the game world.
Yeah.
So like you just got to talk to him like this, like, and it's weird. And anyway, so he's still in the trout farm, and he's going through the farm, and he finds Allegra, and she's like in another part doing a different job. And he's like talking to her and explaining this whole thing about how the game looks real. And she does the same thing.
Yeah. She does the fucking pause thing.
She does the pause too. And
that part really fucked with me. I was like, what?
Yeah, I was like, what is going on? I was very, very unsettled this whole movie.
Yeah, because she's...
in a good way, though.
She's real.
Yeah, she came in with you. Like, why did she do the pause?
Spoiler, they're all real people.
Yeah, they're all real. But they all do the pause in...
Yeah, but you never do it. You know, that part blew my mind.
It's supposed to be, I think, a tell that you're in the video game world.
Yeah, I got that, but it's just like, wow.
But anyway, so they go to the restaurant, the two of them. They order the special. The waiter says, no, like, you don't really want that.
It's gotta be a special occasion to get the special.
Yeah, he's like, it is. It's her birthday. And she's like, yeah, it's her birthday. He's like, well, that is special. And then he leaves to go get it. Comes back he leaves to go get it. And then Jude Law kind of is like, this feels, and they go back to reality. They pop out of the game.
He literally says here, all games can be paused, right? And I was like, no, they can't. You can't pause Dark Souls. You can't play.
I just thought about that.
Online video game.
Oh my God, you're right. Destiny, you can't pause that.
Yeah. No.
Zombies in the lobby, you can't pause that.
You can't pause anything that's online.
Oh my God, I just thought about that. That is really funny.
Yeah. I was like, haha, maybe in 1999 you could pause every video game. But.
And they have a brief talk. They go back into the game, and the special arrives, and it's this. I don't have words.
It's just one of those like seafood boils, but with disgusting mutated amphibians.
It looks like a buffalo wing, which was like dripping with fat, kind of made love to a frog leg, and that's what he was eating.
Yeah. It's a bunch of 3D printed skeletons with fucking high fructose corn syrup on them.
Yeah, and he's like he eats the whole thing, and it's so it's gross. Like, dude, him eating it.
She's like, gross. Oh my god, it smells so bad. He's like, I fucking hate it, but I can't stop eating it.
Yeah, I guess it's like part of a moment for his character in the game. He's like, I know, but I can't stop, and he just, it's gross. But anyway, he's starting to put it together, literally, and in his mind, that this is one of those bioguns that he saw.
Yeah.
In his reality. So he starts clicking and clacking it, which again is unsettling.
Dude,
the sounds it makes.
He does like a fucking suck the marrow out of a bone.
It's so gross. This movie is so gross. It is in the best way.
Yeah, because he's not enjoying it himself, but he's
no, and he like an oyster, like pulls it up and sucks it. It's so gross. So he has the bone gun now, and then the guy comes back up.
Yeah, because they're like, why do I have the gun? And Allegra's like, you probably have to kill the waiter.
And then he does this really weird thing where he points the gun at her.
Yeah,
he's like, maybe I'm supposed to kill you.
Foreshadowing, maybe.
And then she's like, that's not funny. Like, she was very much, I felt like it was her saying that. I guess because earlier that evening she got fucking shot. But anyway.
Yeah, she got shot by the same fucking gun.
Yeah. So the waiter comes back. She's like, I don't know, shoot him. And he's like, I feel bad. She's like, it's not real. Like, just do it. So he shoots the waiter in the face twice with the bone gun.
Great effects there, though.
Yeah, it looked real good. Especially for 99, dude.
Right?
It looked
Those
great.
Were practical. It's a lot like the fucking scanner's face.
Really? I guess you're right.
Right.
And, because CGI was there, but The Matrix just happened. So that was a huge technological leap when The Matrix happened, and that was after this.
I feel like the only CGI was the fucking two-headed amphibian thing that they see.
Which totally looked like 90s CGI.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that makes sense. It's practical. And then a dog runs up and takes the bone gun, runs away, which I thought was funny. And I just have here the guy from the assembly line gave him the salamander.
Well, yeah, the chef was Yevgeny.
That's right. And then the restaurant makes the mutant creatures to eat, and then that's how they do the black market game pod components.
Yeah, he shows them the breeding pools where they grow the mutants for food / game pods.
Evgeny was like one of their contacts, like
yes.
some kind of spy or something like that with them. So you find out, though, that you weren't supposed to kill the Chinese waiter. The Chinese waiter was your contact. So he talks to the clerk in the store. His name is Calum Keith Rennie. He's a Canadian actor who, if you've ever seen a show that was shot in Canada, this motherfucker's in it. Like, he's in it somewhere. Most famously, if you ask me, he played the owner of the fucking Highlanders in Goon 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you don't know about that. That's all right.
I've seen it. But I don't know.
He's fantastic. Great character actor. And he starts to give him the rundown here. He's like, hey, I'm a realist. Like, I don't do any of this video game bullshit.
About the realist underground.
Exactly. And then Jude Law and Allegra are like, oh, I guess we're in a spy thriller. Okay. So then you actually need to listen to Calum Keith Rennie. You need to double cross Evgeny, the assembly line guy who showed you the ropes and the black market thing. And
yeah, because you hear see that Darcy guy, and then he shows you Darcy. He's like, yeah, there he is. There's his dead fucking body. He was a fucking traitor to the realists.
Yeah, so you don't know really what group you're supposed to be working for or who's working for or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is where it starts to like really go off the
It really does.
They I don't remember if they go back and I think they go back into reality here because her pod was acting up.
No, I think they go back to the trout farm, and then
do they
find that diseased pod, right?
That's right. Yes, they find the diseased pod in the trout farm, and that is supposed to be like a hint.
Yeah, and Allegra's like, I have to pour it into it.
And then she does.
Right.
But it turns out that was a little bit of, I don't know, reality bleeding into the story because we go back.
All right, she ports into the fucking disease port.
Yes.
She starts seizing and shit. Jude Law has to cut her fucking tube. She's like, I'm bleeding to death.
And it's bleeding a lot.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
And then Yevgeny shows up and he's like, I got to burn everything. Death to the realism.
And then, so he burns the disease pod. And I have in my notes, this is where the term podcast came from. I don't remember what the joke context of that was.
Oh, because the burning pod releases deadly spores and it's killing all the organic shit there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I must have missed that or not put in my notes. But Either way, we now flop back to reality here. And whatever disease was in that diseased pod, in this world, they brought back with them from eXistenZ.
Yes.
And her game pod is dying.
Yeah, she needs to inject it with some fucking sporicide.
Yeah, like she has a needle and a thing and she jams it in there. It is weird. But then there's this huge explosion. The wall blows out and Caleb Keith Rennie, the cashier, breaks in with a gun looking like a commando. And he's like, oh, that's your pod, and just blows it away. Shoots it real good.
That
like,
scene was so like out of fucking nowhere too.
Out of absolutely nowhere. And he's like, death to reality. So I guess you have this side that's like, fuck you. You were not going into your weird game world and getting disappeared into this reality. And then there's another group that's like, well, fuck you. We're not ever going back to reality.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess they're fighting each other. So Ian Holm shows up, and at the last moment, he shoots Caleb Keith Rennie when he's about to shoot Allegra Geller, saves her life, and he's like, hey, I'm sorry. I killed your pod. I had to do it. I made a backup of it. Like, your game's not gone. It's fine. And she's like...
And doesn't she she puts a sporicidal resonator in Pikel's back because he's been infected. She puts this little fucking...
Oh, yeah, it started to look real gross.
Yeah, she puts like this weird plug in his back and like, here, this will fix you.
That's right. That's a very important part. So it's like, God, it's so weird, but she plugs it into his back, hits a button, and it kind of like works itself in there.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's getting rid of an infection in his body. That's what she says.
It's so weird. God, this movie rules. And then Ian Holmes like, we backed up your pod. Your pod's fine. Why don't you come with us? Why don't you come with us to Cortical Systematics? Like, why should we compete with them? We can go there. We can get a great deal. And she's like, nah, dog. And she kills him. Like, straight up shoots him. And then Jude Law pulls a gun on her. And he's like, what are you doing? What is happening? And she's like, this isn't real.
Yeah. She does this whole thing like, I shot him, but it's in the game, dude. And then he's like, but what if it is real? What if we are back in reality?
It is unsettling because she's treating this moment as if they were in a game.
But she's a game veteran and he's a fucking noob.
That's a good point too. She's the designer.
She knows what would happen. Yeah.
She probably spent a lot of time in the game.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's not real.
That's the point. You're supposed to feel like this could be real.
Exactly. And she's like, I'm a video game character. Like, this isn't real.
Yeah.
And then fucking Pikel pulls his gun and is like, well, I actually work for the bad guys. So it was me the whole time that brought them here or whatever. It's like there's like 3 reversals really quick and it's very confusing.
Yeah.
And
she's like, fuck, I knew that, dickhead.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I knew that, dickhead. That thing in your back, oh, that's not an infection cleaner. That's a bomb. And she hits a button and his fucking spine just blows out.
That was fucking awesome, dude.
It was great. It was fantastic. God, this movie rules.
I win.
She's standing in the field while there's like fires and gunfights happening around her. She's like, I did it. I won. All right. I'm done. Did I win? Right? Like, I can come out. And then we're back in another world, above the world we thought was reality.
A completely different world where they're wearing different mind-altering bullshit.
Yes. Because that entire time, we were in a game.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is fucking nuts. Because, like, and I'll talk about this when we finish. I'll just finish the story real quick. Yeah. So they're in the real world. And they have these, like, devices that just kind of sit on their head. It looks pretty. I don't know what else.
You have like a glove on and
a glove, and it's clearly more physical, plastic, like something closer to our reality
than
the
fucking organic. That's
organic that plugs in your spine. Yeah, it's more centered in reality. So we're now in the real world, and the designer of the game is like, "All right, that was it. Like, we played it. What an amazing game!" And they start talking to it, and everybody, the whole cast. It was Evgeny. He was the game designer.
He was the guy you fucking worked with at the trout farm.
Right. So this was some kind of like test and like a play test, and like Willem Dafoe's there, and all these people are just like, oh, the game was really great. I really liked my character when they did this. And Willem Dafoe's like, I was kind of bummed because I got out of the story very early, but it ended up being really cool.
Yeah. And the guy, the original guy who was like, he's like, yeah, I was out in the first 15 minutes, but I enjoyed it. It was great. And they only spent 20 minutes in that reality too.
Yeah, it felt like a whole evening, but it was only 20 minutes.
Yeah, because some guy says like, yeah, you could live your whole life in this, and it's gonna feel like you lived 500 years.
It's nuts. So the playtest stops. Sarah Pauli's here as like the
administrator,
seminar leader, administrator, and she's talking about the game. And she goes to the side and talks to Evgeny, and they're like, "What do you think?"
And then Evgeny's like, "Well, somebody brought the entire idea of killing the game designer into my game because that wasn't there. So somebody else had that idea, and it overrode a whole bunch of shit."
Yeah, I think that's wild that they have this playtest, and then the first level is killing a game designer, and then the level beyond that is still dealing with the design of the game. It's like more iterations you get, it's harder to get away from the previous one.
I had the idea that when they plugged in, everyone's ideas of what would happen would just meshed, and he's like, somebody brought the idea of killing a fucking game designer into my game, and it wasn't me. And Evgeny's worried about it. He's like, one of these people wants to kill me.
And she's like, okay, well, we'll talk to, and then that's at that point, Jude Law and Jennifer Jason Leigh, who are in this real reality like a couple, they're there together. They grab their dog and they walk over and they're like, hey, we don't think that was great. And they move the best place I've ever seen to hide a gun. They rip off. It looks like they rip off part of the dog's fucking outside, but it was like a piece of fur sitting on the dog. It was trickery. You see, and they pull that off, and the dog's holding two guns. So they grab the guns and shoot the designer in the face. And this entire time where they commit this act of violence, the camera turns back and looks at everybody from the playtest. No one's screaming. No one's losing their mind. They're just sitting there watching.
Yeah. And then they go to point their guns at the Asian waiter. And he's like, wait, are we still in the game?
Yeah. He's like, be honest. Are we still in the game? And then that's the end of the movie.
Dude, that's fucking the greatest ending.
Yeah, because they were clearly still mentally in the game or in that spectator view. Like something affected them to the point where they're just watching.
They were there to kill Evgeny the whole time.
Everybody?
No, I assumed Pikel and Allegra were both there to kill Evgeny the whole time.
Oh, right. I was talking about like the other people that were in the room.
Oh, yeah. No, everybody else was like, are we still in this? What's going on?
Yeah, there was like some kind of artifact or something left in their brain, or they were still in spectator mode. But I also don't understand this game. Like in the world of the game for example, was Caleb Keith Rennie just working at that register the entire time and only reacting when Sarah Pauli and Pikel came in?
That's what I don't understand.
Like, is everyone out there just living their own life, or are they watching
It doesn't
one
make
narrative?
sense that everybody but Jude Law is a NPC.
No, it doesn't.
Because they are player characters, actually. But they all did the fucking reset bullshit until he got his lines right.
But Allegra did it too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. Well, it made sense because were they still in the game?
Well, that's the thing too. Like, how much of the game was them and their own free will and acting with it, and how much was things programmed in for just their character avatar to do? Like when he was eating the thing to do the guns, like he couldn't stop. Like that was part of his character, and he was programmed in there. He was going to do it.
Yeah, and it's just like, was it all just random? Who gets to do that?
Right. Like, is it free will? Like, are you actually, when Pikel goes in, he starts talking to Allegra like they're in the real world, and she doesn't respond, and then he has to say the right thing.
Because the guy in the beginning, he's like, oh, I'm kind of bummed that I was only in for like fucking 10 minutes. And then I got killed instantly.
Yeah.
And Willem Dafoe was like, I would have liked to be in it more too. But so what are they watching when they're dead?
Is it like if you die, you go to the lobby and you're in spectator view? Like, is that what
that's
happens?
what I wondered. It's like, you watching the person who killed you? You watching their game, or you free floating? I don't know.
Because if you're in the game, it feels like reality.
Yeah. So maybe you just die and then you don't know time's going on.
It's
you ever
so
get like
weird.
Anesthesia? You don't know time's moving forward.
Or my favorite example is like, have you ever been driving and it's in a road or something that's very familiar
And
to
then
the
next
point
thing you
where
know,
it's
you're
like,
home already.
well, not like that drastic, but you go for a little bit and you're like, oh fuck, and you snap back and you were on autopilot.
Yeah.
Like it's something you've done so many times, your brain just was like, I got this. Take a minute, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know.
What I love about this movie though is the first level, the game that we start with, that version of reality. There's so many things, like so many tips, tidbits, giveaways that this was not our reality.
Yeah, like the the organic gun that he pulls out of a fucking old thing.
Right, but I think they do a great job of playing it as if, well, this is a different, like, sort of near future world.
Right.
Like, this isn't now, so this is where things are going to get to. So you're like, well, why wouldn't there be some kind of organic gun? And you're like, I'll buy that, sure. And then you get to the weird console, and you're like, okay. And then things start getting weirder.
Yeah, but then it all comes back to it could be reality. But that was just the game.
Right, like the mutated salamander was kind of a giveaway. Like the moment you talked about where she was just around, like touching things, feeling things.
Yeah, like that part, I was like, well, she's definitely a game designer. And she's like, holy shit, these textures are amazing.
Kind of like admiring the work.
Yeah, she's like, because she takes the fucking like little pebble too and throws it just like to see how it reacts to the world.
It's pretty cool.
It makes sense, yeah.
Like there's the moment where Jude Law shoots the waiter. He's like, I don't want to do that, but I feel like I have to.
Yeah, she's like, when he comes over here, you're not going to be able to not do it.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
And then when they get back and there's the whole weird reality bleeding into each other where this, like, why is the assault or whatever that is, the gunfight taking place at Ian Holmes' place? Like, are they looking for her, trying to get her?
Well, that huge like battle in the fucking
the battle, the
cabin.
flames, the explosions, whatever the hell that is. Are they trying to kill her? I don't know. Like it's very.
I didn't know what that was. I thought that was just like a crazy game level.
Right. It's like ramping up to like the final level.
Yeah, where it's like she can win here or it'll continue to escalate, and she did win.
She did. And they just did. David Cronenberg did such a good job because in that moment where she's like, I won. You're like, oh my God, this isn't a game. Like, what the fuck is wrong with her? Like, she's mentally broken.
The thing just appears on her head.
Yeah, and she did win because she was in the game and she remembered it and we didn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
Because we didn't even know that was part of another game.
No, it was a great reveal.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So basically, we just watched one big cutscene movie.
Yeah, I always thought like it would be fun to play this game in a virtual reality system.
I'm like afraid now. Like I mean,
yeah, because you come out and you'd be like, I don't even know if this is reality anymore.
It's like Inception.
Yeah. Yep.
Where it feels so real that you come back to reality and you're like, am I in the dream or?
But isn't that the point? Wouldn't that be the best game where you don't know when you come back?
I think there's such a
that's
weird,
scary as fuck to think about. But
yeah, there's like a weird moral area because you're like the way the technology goes, like, yeah, that's the goal, right? Like being so immersed, you don't even you feel like you're there.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is like the most perfect example of that. Like you are there. You feel the heat. Like you get the pain from the gunshot. You react to things. You actually sweat. Like it is fucking real life.
At the end of the day, you're just that Asian guy who's like, wait, we're still in the game? You guys are pointing guns at me. Like, what the fuck?
It's so real that when they get back to reality, they can't tell.
Yeah.
And if that were a real thing that existed in this world right now,
that's scary as fuck, dude.
It's terrifying. Like, how would you know?
I mean, this world is fucking stupid as shit. So
yeah, it's not looking good right now. And if we had this as well, oh, buddy.
Oh my God, forget about it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie.
I love it, dude. It's a good movie. Makes you think, but it's not really. You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. It makes you think, but at the same time, it is not that confusing of a story. It's pretty straightforward. It gets confusing at parts, but then they're like, oh, that was the game.
It's just so absurd and fun to watch too, though.
It is. It was like an hour 45. It was brisk. It felt good. Like, but I'm struggling to find what the message is here. Is it that we shouldn't just turn our brains off and play the game, or?
I think the message is don't get lost in it, dude. Just remember it's fucking fantasy.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's the critics basically said it was a fun movie and it was gnarly, but is maybe that's just the message? Just don't get too into it.
Yeah.
Just don't look too far into this movie because then it starts getting muddled and crazy. Just enjoy it.
Yeah. I like how they leave the ending open though. It's like, is it still the game?
Yeah, they don't explain it. It's just this review is like an existential psychotropic trip.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because you don't fucking know. You don't know if the game's over at the end. All you know is reality is subjective.
Yeah, like I think I'm nailing this down. Like living out your fantasy isn't always maybe isn't always exactly what you want.
Right.
Something along those lines.
You want to play this game because you want to be able to kill people and shit. But then if it's so real, is it worth doing?
Right. Like I could play Call of Duty all day, but if I were putting on a headset, and I was in the moment,
crisis of killing people and what happens to their families afterwards.
Yeah, and then you're like going to their funerals of all the people you can. It's just I don't want to do that.
It's never fucked up.
Yeah, like something about living out your fantasies isn't always what it's cracked up to be. Something along the lines of like there's some danger to constant escapism. You start blurring what's real, what's not. Maybe he just like predicted how like our online brains would be.
I just thought it was weird that most of the things he was complaining about, like you can't pause it and it doesn't tell you what you have to do. You just thrown into a game world. I'm like, dude, this is all Dark Souls shit. Like,
yeah, he nailed that part.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
They absolutely nailed that part. It's like there's no instructions. You just go. Like you just figure
it out as you play it. I was like, yeah, this is all just. I love those games, man.
That's wild. And I saw one of the criticism to it was the dialogue seemed a little stale, a little dry, a little too. They used the word clinical.
Isn't that the point, though?
Yeah, that was the point of the whole thing. That you're not in reality. These are
video games.
Things are different, but they're close. You know what I mean? Like it's close to reality. Where if eventually you get used to it and you start to not even question it.
Yeah. That totally, how is that an argument? Just like, it's clinical bullshit. It's like, yeah.
Like the acting was bad. It's like that.
Did you know that it was all in a video game? That's kind of the point, I think.
Man, this movie fucking rules.
I don't know. Anyone who says this movie sucks, fucking watch it again, dude.
Absolutely. Also, I do want to shout out, I mean, not like we need to shout him out, but Willem Dafoe in this. He's always great.
Dude, I love him in everything.
He plays this, like, he understands this gas station guy so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like, where he plays this guy who's a super fan, but at the same time, he's like a video game character, so things are kind of off, but then he does the heel turn, and, like, you feel like, oh, that totally makes sense.
That's another thing. Because when they pan out, like, at the end, where it's like, oh, my God, all these NPCs were actual characters in real life, you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, because Willem Dafoe's character felt like he had actual things to say, but then he had to say other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it did feel like
he had his own flavor to that character.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you think about it, they all did. Evgeny, everybody.
They felt different than all the other characters just walking around.
Yeah. And then when it pans out and they're like, oh my God, those were real people who were trying to do something, but they had limitations on what they could do.
Yeah, but does that mean they were just the supporting characters in this main character story, or were they doing their own thing?
Yeah, that's another thing, because Jude Law was the main character. Is it like, does a random character get assigned, or can you play to become the main character?
Or is it like kind of what Jennifer Jason Leigh's character is like, where it was the last man standing, like whoever made it to the end?
Yeah, again.
Is that the whole game? Is this just a death match? Is that what this is, just with different layers?
Yeah. A good question, dude. It's like Among Us, but crazy detailed.
All we can suggest is you guys go check it out.
Yeah, check it out. It's a great movie, dude.
I'm shocked more people don't talk about it or know about it. It feels like it really still to this day is very much under the radar.
Yeah, no, because I watched it, no lie, 3 times in the past 2 days just to do this.
Nice.
But it's good. It's a really good movie. And it holds up.
It absolutely it does.
I think it holds up better than fucking The Matrix.
It might.
Right?
But is that just because The Matrix has been in our cultural consciousness so hard for 30 years?
Yeah, maybe people aren't looking at this one enough, but
yeah, this one seems a little more fresh just because of but I loved it. I think that if you're out there looking for some wild, like, look, if you like eXistenZ, I think your next one should probably be The Fly, because I think that's his best one.
If you haven't seen The Fly, I assume you've seen The Fly before you fucking come to this. But
yeah, probably. That's probably the way most people came to it. But anything by David Cronenberg is fucking weird. Are they slappers though?
Some.
Okay.
I'd call this one a slapper. I'd call the fly a slapper.
Really? Okay.
You don't think so?
No, hey man, I'm still trying to hammer down what a slapper is after all these years.
I don't know. The fly does make a little too much sense to be a slapper, but
Well, I was thinking to myself, like, is there too much heart? And then at the end, with the fly putting the shotgun to his own dome, I'm like, that negates all the heart.
yeah.
That heart's a net zero on that movie.
I don't know, but I brought it up before in this cast. Society is a slapper.
Oh, that is an
I
absolute
swore
slapper.
that was a fucking Cronenberg.
Brian Yuzna did it.
Yeah, it's a wild practical effects movie.
Oh yeah, that is, man. If you like eXistenZ with all the weird bio shit, maybe watch a couple more Cronenberg. You got to work up to Society.
Yeah. Cronenberg's not something you want to just jump in, or Society's not something you want to jump into from a Cronenberg, but he did do Reanimator. The same guy did Society.
He did Bride of Reanimator. He didn't do the original one. That was Stuart Gordon.
Oh, he was a producer of that.
There you
movie. Okay.
Man, Reanimator's another fucking. Is that a slapper? It has to be a slapper.
I have to
Come
watch
on.
it again, but I assume it is. Yes. From
Yeah,
what I
it has to
remember,
be.
yeah.
Videodrome is a great movie. That is a fucking
Amazing.
wild ride. James Woods these days can go fuck himself, but man, in Videodrome, he was fantastic.
Yeah. History of
yeah.
Violence, I enjoyed too.
I don't think I've seen it since it came out, but I do remember really liking it. And they parodied it in Archer, so that's fun, with Bob's Burgers. I don't know if you saw that episode.
No.
There's a crossover episode where you're in the universe and animation style of Archer, but Archer had a mental breakdown and went to the Jersey Shore and got married, and he married Linda from Bob's Burgers because, you know, he does the voice of Bob and Archer. You get it?
Yeah.
And the beginning is like a history of violence where the diner scene. So it's pretty awesome.
Nice. Rabid's fucking sick too.
Rabid's great. Shivers, you gotta check out Shivers.
Scanners is disgusting. Videodrome, fucking cool.
God, all these are awesome. Go check them out there. But I think we can wrap this one up.
Yeah.
Really, this is probably one of my favorite movie we've ever talked about, except for maybe PCU. That's a good one.
Oh, that was a good one too. Yeah.
And Weekend at Bernie's 1 and 2 were Weekend at Bernie's 1 was a pleasant surprise for me because I hadn't ever seen it before. But 2 was
Dude,
it was a little out there.
I love 1. Weekend at Bernie's 1 is amazing. I'd say this is definitely fucking up there. This is this is such a good run.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a ton of clicks on a movie that is 25 years old. But
not many
check it
people
out.
talk about it, man.
That's true. We enjoyed it. Check it out. If they wanted to send us an email with more movie recommendations, kind of in the line of what Cronenberg's doing out there, where would they send that email to, Sir Chump Slap?
Well, send them to plottytime@gmail.com. I'll read. I'll respond. You might become a good friend of mine.
You might. And if you want to get to us faster on the socials, how do they do that, Sir Chump Slap?
Well, I guess you hit us up on I don't know.
Instagram. TikTok.
There we go.
Jesus, at Plotty Time.
Do we have a TikTok?
We do have a TikTok. We do post there. For the
Yeah,
episodes.
check it out. Check out the TikTok. I don't know. Fucking give us numbers, man. Hit us up on
Yeah.
YouTube too, because we could use it.
YouTube, like and subscribe there. Really helps us out. That does it for us. So, as always, shout out to Blaine JJ, Drago the Slago, Sandman 4J, Gamers Little Playground, I Am Panics, and Luis Guzman. Don't trust Dr. Scientist. Talk to you next time. Peace.
Peace.